Right, good morning, everybody. How we doing? How we doing? Today we're going to be diving into music publishing, and I'm going to hit some things that we maybe I'm just going to hit it from an angle this morning that we maybe haven't talked about so far in the group, and I hope it's helpful and insightful for y'all. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about how to be your own best publisher. And the reason I wanted to hit that topic is because the question that we get asked all the time and that we've been asked repeatedly in Song Chasers is, how do I get a publishing deal? How do I get a publishing deal? And chances are, most of you guys are at a place where that's just not going to be realistic yet. And to be honest, publishing yourself and self-publishing now is oftentimes a more appealing option for many writers who want to just kind of retain control, because there's almost less that a Music Row publisher can do for you now than it used to be, with the advent of things like TikTok and people just being able to put their stuff out there. The sync world kind of exploding. Being your own publisher, it actually is not a lesser than option. I want to get that out on the front end, that if you feel like, well, I don't have a publishing deal, that it makes you lesser than, that's really not the case. There's a lot of great writers now who just choose to have admin deals, and they kind of just build their own relationships and they do their own pitching and all that good stuff. So I say that with the caveat of saying I've always had a publisher, but part of what I think has made it work in my case is that I've always tried to be my own best publisher and really just view my publisher as a partner and not as the be all end all, the person that's going to make or break my career as a songwriter for me. Does that make sense, y'all? So here's how to be your own best publisher. And before we jump into that, I want to just quickly go over, what does a publisher do? Give me some shout outs. You guys can just open your mic if you want to. You can type in the chat. What does a music publisher do? Little audience participation here. What does a music publisher do? And there's if you don't know, just say what you think they do. Okay, Vicky says they pitch songs. All right, that's part of it. Kip says they hustle your music. That's definitely part of it. Vicky, they provide briefs. Yep, that can be a part of it for you to write to. What else? What else does a publisher do? Chidia helps manage your catalog. Yep. Paul Staggs finds somebody to record your songs. Yep. Isabel gets co-writes for you sometimes. Yep, that's a big piece of it. Bigger piece now than it ever has been, actually. Brian, they register your works with PRO. Yep. Those are all good. Those are all pieces of what they do. Tammy says they help you rub elbows with other writers. Yep. Provide guidance, network. It's good answers there. At its core, really what a publisher does is they help you get your songs recorded and released or licensed. And a part of that is a lot of the stuff that you mentioned. It's networking. It's setting you up in co-writes with people that are recording music or are getting music recorded. Because ultimately the goal is to get it released. That's the only way that a publisher makes money and is able to monetize, is through releases or licenses. And when I say license, it's, sync. It may not come out on Spotify or on a record, but it could get used in a movie or a trailer or a video game. And so that's the licensing piece. So that's essentially it at its core, what a music publisher does. I wanted to get that out on the front end because I wanted to clear up what a music publisher does not do. They're not out there marketing your releases. They're not out there pitching you to playlists if you're an artist. They're not out there booking you shows. They're not out there, cleaning up bad business deals like an entertainment attorney would do. They don't really do any of that stuff. This is at its core what they do. Now, every publisher in Nashville is going to look different, but that's really it at its core. And so today we're going to focus on self-publishing, how to be your own best music publisher. And I have a pretty easy answer for this, and it may seem simplistic, but I promise you it's everything. This is the answer that I've come to after having done this now for, 2005. I graduated high school in 05. So we're coming up on 20 years now. That's crazy. That crazy how fast 20 years just flies by. It's insane. So I've been doing this for 20 years now, and this legitimately is the best answer I can give you. And it is this. It is to be your own best music publisher. You got to work like it's up to you and pray like it's up to God. Work like it's up to you, pray like it's up to God. And you might think, well, that's not a really specific answer. We're going to dive into some specifics of what I mean, but I wanted to really live in this discussion today, because so many people, like when you see the whole landscape in your mind, so many of us focus 100% on the work part, and we miss the point that it's only half the battle, if even that. Like there is so much of being a music publisher and a writer that's just out of our control. And so we focus 100% on the work part, and again, we miss the point that it's only half the battle. So I want to talk about the two sides of the coin today, and the first being, okay, so if God allows us to do this thing and he gives us a chance to partner with him on creating something beautiful, creating music, that's what he asks us to do. I do believe that like God gives us responsibility, personal responsibility. That's the work piece. But then there is this whole other piece that is probably arguably even more important. So, but let's go ahead and start with the work piece. What does it look like to do the work well as a music publisher? Before I give you my suggestions, I would love to hear your ideas. In your case, in your mind, in your experience, in your observations, what does it look like to work well as a music publisher? What are some of the things that could look like on a day-to-day basis? Or as on the macro, like, okay, Vicky, that's good. Consistency. That's a good piece of it. What do you mean specifically by consistency? Is it showing up? Is it pitching? Is it Tammy says time management. That's definitely a big part of it. It's definitely a big part of it. What else? What else does it look like to do the work well? Jerry Alexander said this is basic, but finish every song. And it's that's not basic. That's there's a lot of people who don't do that and don't realize that actually it hinders you. It can hinder you a lot. There are times and places to do like song starts and pitches, but the point is to get them finished. So yes, I love that you brought that up. Paul Stagg says making relationships. That's right. Let's see. Vicky Lynn says showing up consistently and doing the work while balancing prayer and self-care. That's a great way to say it. Tammy says to write. Yeah. So it's a little bit of semantics. Obviously, to be your own best publisher, you've got to write a lot. So that is true. You've got to give yourself something to work with, to pitch, to publish. Kip says they know and exercise the music business aspect of your music. I love that, Kip. That's awesome. It's like switching hats. It's like, okay, I'm in creative mode one day, and then I'm in like business mode the next day. And I have to sometimes consciously like almost visualize myself switching roles like that, because it is two very different. There's a right brain where you just kind of let yourself go, and then there's a left brain that embraces the practicality of things. So that is really, really great. It can be tricky, but the writers who find success nowadays, who are their own best publishers, are able to switch back and forth. And sometimes they are doing both at the same time. The really talented ones. Those are some great answers. I'll start with what I think, and these may just come off totally obvious, but I'll get the obvious ones out of the way. But organization. Organization is a huge part. We've talked about it a ton here in Song Chasers. We've got our challenge this month, which I believe is to get your catalog organized. If you haven't already, Riley can confirm if that's the case or not, but I think my memory serves me that that's what we're focusing on this month. So organization is a huge thing. Just having all of your songs in one place, whether that's a Google document or a Google Sheet or Dropbox or Songspace or Disco or whatever you use, having some method of organization. Because if you are in a relationship with somebody and you make a relationship with, let's say, an artist or an A&R person or a manager or a music supervisor that's saying, okay, well, I'm working on this project and I need songs that are like X, Y, and Z. If you have to dig for weeks to find them, you've probably already missed the opportunity. So you need to be able to show that, oh wow, I'm on top of it. Like this guy hit me right back, or this girl hit me right back. And they have all their stuff in one place. It looks like it's organized. All the splits are clear. The lyrics actually match the recording, which this is a huge one. I bring that up because even within Song Chasers, there's a lot of our song sharing sessions where the lyrics don't match what's being actually sung. So just making sure that those things are actually, it just makes you come off as more pro. That's all it does. So organization, and again, these may come off as kind of obvious, but we'll get these ones out of the way. Quantity and consistency. I think yeah, Vicky had mentioned consistency. It definitely is it's a numbers game. Rusty Gaston, my publisher at Sony Music, always says it's not a numbers game, but it is a numbers game. It's not a numbers game, but it is a numbers game. And so what that means is doing it a lot and doing it consistently over time. A great metaphor for this is like investing. Like investing only works if you do it consistently over a long period of time. A lot of people look at a guy like Warren Buffett, who's one of the most successful investors of all time, and they're like, well, what's his secret? And there really is no secret other than that, yeah, he's smart, but he started doing it like 80 years ago. And so he's had that time compounding effect where he's just never stopped doing it. And so quantity and consistency. A lot of us go through these spurts where we'll write a lot and then we'll get burned out and we can't sustain it. We'll write a lot and we can't get burned out and then we just can never get back to it. The trick is to find a pace and an energy level and an output level that is high, but that is not burning you out, that is consistent, something you can keep up day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out, year in and year out, so that you just never stop doing it. Ultimately, that is the answer. And having had a music publishing company, I owned a music publishing, and still own a music publishing company technically. For 5 years, we signed 7 writers, have about 1,100 songs in our catalog that we're still continuing to work and seeing activity. But my biggest frustration would be like when writers would, like, they'd start out the deal really strong. First year they'd turn in like 100 songs, and then they got discouraged because they weren't seeing the output that they thought that should be happening from their songs, so they slowed down, and that made it even worse. When I'm like, this is like a snowball effect. You got to do 100 songs the first year, then 100 the second year, then 100 the third year, and something happens that I can't explain it, but it just happens somewhere where you have that one song that works, and then all of a sudden all this other unseen work and this unrewarded work behind the scenes gets rewarded if you don't stop. So that's where it's the quantity, not only the quantity, but the consistency. Paul says, that's my weakest point. ADD paralyzes me from time to time. Hey, you're not alone. Any other ADD people out there? I definitely think a lot of us can probably relate with that. Very much am ADHD here. But if we can harness that energy and get the discipline together, yep, you get a lot of people resonating there. Vicky says, when writing brings you so much joy, it makes it even harder to stop, take breaks, remember to find a balance. So burnout happens even when we love what we do. That is so true. It's knowing when to stop, knowing when to say no, knowing when to put the pen down, knowing when to go live life and just let our inspiration tank recharge and refill. So quantity and consistency. And ultimately, this is going to remember, we're talking about 2 different hats here. We're talking about the creative part, but then we're talking about being your own publisher. You're only going to be as good of a publisher as the writer side of you enables you to be. And that's where the quantity and consistency in the organization comes in. The third thing we talk about all the time, I'm going to talk about it again, is good quality demos. Good demos enable a publisher to do their job well. They enable the publisher side of you to do your job well. There's a lot of people when they start out writing songs, they think people can kind of hear through a rough recording, and they don't really realize like how good the quality actually has to be. It really, like for many of you, you may hear demos out there and you think, well, that doesn't sound any different than anything I'd hear on the radio, and you're right. That's the answer. Like you have to have demos that sound like they could be released as masters. That really is the bar that you want to set for yourself. You may not be there as a producer, being able to achieve that yourself. You may not be writing every day in a co-write with a producer who's able to achieve that. But what I would say is this: if you're struggling with that, just pick the cream of the crop and invest in those. Like if you write 100 songs and you're struggling to find a good demo quality, it's worth investing. Take the top 10% and pay to have a really good demo done. You can go to websites like soundbetter.com. People here within Song Chasers can help you with that. Finding good singers, using even some of the AI vocal stuff. If you don't feel like you have a strong voice, some of the AI vocal stuff can be really helpful. But good demos, like a publisher, the publisher side of you cannot do anything with your songs without a good quality, modern sounding demo. I'm going to emphasize the word modern, because some people, even in this group, have demos that they recorded in 1990. They're going to be completely outdated sounding. You've got to redo them if they're old, if they're outdated. We have a lot of great people here in this group that would love to help you with this piece. Dave Langdon says here in the chat, he's available to help you with demos. Thank you, Dave. Nick Lukowski's done a lot of them. We have so many people who are at your disposal to do great demos. So don't let the demo be the reason that your songs are not getting cut. Jeremy says, would love to help. Feel free to reach out. That's awesome. Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate it. Okay, so organization, quantity, consistency, and good demos. And then pitch again, and repeat. This kind of echoes the consistency piece. A lot of people think, oh, well, I pitched my song once, it didn't get cut, it must not be a good song. No, that is not the answer. Sometimes songs have to be pitched 10, 15, 20, 30 times to 30 different people before they land in the right place at the right time on the right ears. And I've even had stories where like the song that I had, well, I'm not going to even I won't name specifics because I don't want to get anybody in trouble here. But I did have a song that was recorded by a pretty big artist in the last few years. And we pitched it directly to the artist because one of the co-writers had a relationship with him, which always is going to be your best bet at getting something cut, is if you're pitching directly to the artist and not through a publisher or through an agent or through an A&R or through a manager. It's always going to be going direct to the artist. That doesn't mean they're going to say yes every time. It just means that if they say yes, there's a better chance than it just like sitting on hold for an indefinite amount of time. So we had pitched directly to the artist. They loved the song, recorded it about 3 months later. And what we didn't realize in the process was our publisher, because we turn these songs in to publishers, they pitch them around. Sometimes people don't even realize that a song has already been pitched or recorded just because they're getting pitched so many times. And somebody had pitched to this artist's A&R person, and the A&R person passed on it. And little did they know, like they wrote back like 3 months after the song was already recorded, like, no, this song is not a good fit for this artist. And we just kind of laughed about it because we were like, well, tell it to them because they already recorded it. So you just never know. I mean, if you get a no from the publisher, go to the manager. If you get a no from the manager, go to the A&R. If you get a no from the artist, maybe bring it back up to them in a year or two, or just move on to another artist. Ultimately, that's kind of the answer. You can't get down, you can't get discouraged when you get a no. You are going to get a lot more no's in this business as a publisher than you will get yeses. You will get, I'll say that again. You're going to get a lot more no's than you will get yeses. Has anybody ever been in sales before? Anybody have any experience being in sales? Like, you know, it's a numbers game. Like, for every call that you make, for every door that you knock on, if you did that when you were a kid, or at any point selling vacuum cleaners or whatever else stuff people sell nowadays, door to door, it's a numbers game. You're going to get no a lot more than you get yes. And I will say probably even more so in music publishing. So don't get down on yourself. Do not take it personally. Don't take it personally. It's not you. It's just that the song isn't right for that person or for that use at that time. So that could be, and not over analyzing. Well, why? Like, is it because the voice? Is it because it's not? Half the time we don't even know. Like, just don't get caught up in trying to over analyze why something doesn't sell, why something doesn't connect. Just pitch again and repeat. Pitch again and repeat. Take all the energy that you would have spent over analyzing why something didn't work and put it into your next pitch. That's really it. Paul Stagg says Kirby vacuums. What a horrible couple of months. Is that what you were? Okay, I'm guessing, Paul, you were selling for Kirby vacuums. Man, I will say I discovered the company called Cutco. They make knives, like kitchen knives and stuff. My cousin started selling them on like summer break in college. And I gotta say, that was one of the better experiences I've had, being like sold some kind of thing. He wasn't like obviously going door to door, but he was, texting and emailing the family, and we're like, okay, we'll support him. But man, there's some great knives. So shout out to anybody who's done Cutco stuff. So organization, quantity, and consistency, good demos, pitch again and repeat. And then ultimately never stop showing up. Never stop showing up. This can be the hardest part. It can be so easy to get discouraged and feel like, well, I don't belong in the room, or I have imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not good enough. Everybody else is better than me. Or maybe you're just an introvert and you hate showing up in group events, which honestly, a lot of the things in music are based around these writers' rounds and group events and networking hangs and things like that. So it can be hard, and they can all be excuses to not show up if you let them be. But here's what I'm telling you is eliminate the excuses. Never stop showing up. It's going to be the only way that your songs are going to get discovered. And that can be virtually, that can be digitally. Like the fact that you're, or that can be physically. That the fact that you're here today means you're showing up. So just never stop showing up. These are all like, and you may be like, who are taking notes, these are all just like obvious, just life skills, and yeah, like they are. But I just wanted to say them as a reminder that these are things that so many people do not do. Paul says, I have to force myself past that imposter syndrome. That's, hey, and the good news is we all do. We all feel that. We all feel that. No matter what stage of the journey you're at, whether you've had big success, big cuts, we all face that. Chidia says, Kirby vacuum salesman has skills. I think we bought one when I was a kid. Man, I love the Dyson vacuums. I actually would enjoy like going door to door and showing people the Dyson stuff, just because I think they make awesome stuff. Like, you don't even have to pay me. I would just, like, their little hand dryer things. I love those. The vacuums are just fun to use. I feel like Dyson could like corner all the vacuum market if they did that, and made their vacuums slightly cheaper. So these are all the kind of obvious sides. Remember, we're talking about one half of the equation here. Work like it's up to you and pray like it's up to God. So we've talked a lot about the work side, the obvious pieces. What about the not so obvious ones? Are there any things that come to your mind that we maybe haven't hit on yet that are a big part of doing the work well? Is there anything that you feel like we missed so far? Gonna let your wheels spin here for a second, mental wheels. Anything that we did not touch on? What's going to set you far ahead of the competition that is above and beyond all of this stuff that we may put in the obvious category? Okay, Tammy says for me, it's education on how to do what I need to do. That's a good one. Vicky says research, seeing what's being used and is successful. That's good. Brian, I love this, being a good person and hang. Isabel, be a person someone wants to meet, be nice. I love it. I love it. You guys may be predicting some of mine. Paul Stagg says, make sure to celebrate others' victories. You make an instant comrade. I love this. We'll just start there. Paul, you hit the nail on the head. Champion others. Champion others. Some of the best publishers in the business and the best writers in the business spend just as much time celebrating the wins of their friends around them. And they show up to, like, if there's a #1 party for another writer for a song that you didn't write, show up and celebrate them, champion them. It makes you more, it endears people more to you, and it just shows people that you're not all just out for your own thing. It's not just you trying to show up with your own agenda 24/7. So championing others. This can also mean, my publisher Kenley is a great example of this. He pitches songs for records that he's not even a publisher on. He just pitches them because he loves the writers and he loves the songs. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we all know in this business, it is hard to find game-changing songs. So when you find or write them, it's a diamond in the rough. We think we write more of them than we do, but in reality, songs that are truly game-changing are rare. If I'm writing 1 or 2 of them a year, I feel like I'm doing pretty good out of hundreds, So championing others, that's such a huge piece of it. Isabel also hit this on the head. Be a good hang. I think Brian said this as well too. Be a good hang. It's all just so much of co-writing is just sitting around hanging and talking. That really is essentially it. And what's going to make you want to get invited back into a room again? It's going to be like, are you a good hang? Do you have other stuff to talk about other than just like, hey, what do you want to write about today? Are you an interesting person? Are you interested? Here's a good one. Are you an interested person? Not just interesting, but are you interested? Are you curious in what other people have to say? Do you ask questions, or do you just talk? Do you just fill the space the whole time with words? Because there's plenty of people who are good at that and not so good at asking questions. So just being a good hang can go so far. Just keeping a vibe in a room steady, easy, smooth, not forced, like that. That's half the battle. I was in a write recently that was so frustrating to me. And I couldn't quite figure out what was going on because we just could not get anything started. We left. It was one of like the maybe 3 sessions I've had in my 4-year deal with Sony where we left with like nothing. And it like you go home feeling so disheartened, like, man, am I ever going to write a song again? I suck at this. I should just quit. But I got some insight that the problem was the problem wasn't me. It wasn't really the artist either. The third who was in the room just made it a tense atmosphere, is what the artist kind of said. He didn't feel like it was a safe place to create. And of course, I'm not going to say who it was because this writer is phenomenal in his own right. It just was a really bad personal fit, and he just wasn't a good hang with this person. And so half the time, the answer is that it's not even how good of a songwriter you are. It's just like, are you making the people in the room feel comfortable? And that's so much of the battle. Paul says, was writing with a kid in Nashville, new dad, new husband. I was able to give him advice through my 39 years of marriage. Ended up writing a great song about marriage and relationships. I love that. I love that. Okay, here's another one. I think Vicky, Tammy, you might have kind of touched on this, but doing your homework. So many people, and this is something I've not always been great at. Like I've gone into so many sessions not even really knowing what does the artist sound like? What is the writer? What types of songs does the writer write? Like doing your homework to the nerd level. And it's not that hard to do it. Like you can do it on your phone. Spend an hour before the write and just learn not just the big songs that they've written, but do the B-sides too. That's what I found is most impressive is when you can like call out a really well-written song, because not all all the best songs become singles. It's like oftentimes the really well crafted songwritery songs are like a track 7 on an album. And I've found that, you know, it may be the one that doesn't have the millions and billions of streams that the artist is the most passionate about. Oftentimes it's the one that's sort of buried on track 7, like I said. And so doing your homework to find those songs, it may be something that they've talked about in an interview. It may be it may be something that they said on stage at a show, but just doing your homework to a nerd level. I had a write with an artist that I was really looking forward to connect with. Her name was Sigrid, who's one of my favorite pop artists from Norway. And I watched some YouTube interviews before, and it was like some tour vlogs, and she talked about this Norwegian cheese that she really likes. And so we went out to World Market and bought some. And when she was here, we gave that to her. So it was just this small little detail, like, oh, this person actually like did their homework, and they know what I like. They know what I'm into. And so don't ever feel like you are overdoing it on the homework level. Like spend your time there. It's never a waste. This is a big one. Serve first and ask second. Serve first and ask second. A lot of people flip this around, or they just ask, and they never serve. And this is so much of the piece of it, and this will transition us really well into just the mentality that prayer puts us in. Is we've got to come into this from a place of humility. If you aren't already a humble person, joining the music business is a really good way to get a little more humility, because once again, you face a lot of rejection. You know, we think every song that we write is great, but we learn really quickly that that's not the case. And so when you can go into a relationship or a room or a situation or a project saying, what can I give, not what can I get? Like sometimes you have to even just psych yourself out audibly, like in the car on the way there, like, what can I give to this room today? Sometimes just visualizing that, putting it out there, manifesting it out there and saying, I'm here to give, not here to get. And if you posture your heart and your mind in that place, it will come across to the people who you're working with. It will come across. People know when there's somebody in the room that has an agenda. People know when they're riding with someone who is not a giver, but a taker, you know. And ultimately, my hope is that in the community that we've built in Song Chasers, you guys can sense that this is very much a serve first community. We're servants first, and we make the asks second. So these are all kind of what I would call the not so obvious soft skills. So between that and the more obvious things, if you're doing those and you are embodying these characteristics, then there's not really a whole lot more that you can do on, like you've pretty much checked the box of work. Of course, there's talent. You get better over time. Talent comes, quality comes with quantity. But if you're doing all of those things and embodying all of those things, that really covers the work piece. But once again, it's only half the battle. So let's talk about the other half. Work like it's up to you and pray like it's up to God. So how do you pray like it's up to God? Now, I want to start this section by acknowledging something, that prayer is not a tool for us to just get something that we want. Prayer is not just a tool for us to get something we want. It's not just a genie magic bottle thing that we rub when we have a problem, or that when we want some level of success. That's not the point of prayer. That's not why we have it. God does ask for us to pray the desires of our hearts, but what we get in return is not the why. What I find with prayer is that it really puts you in a position of trusting God for what's out of your hands. It's you saying to him that I don't know what is going to happen with these 100 songs that I just spent a year writing, but I trust you that if there's one in there that's meant to find its way out, that you're going to breathe on it, and that you're going to get it into the hands of the right person at the right time. That's the only way that any of this stuff happens. And so prayer puts you in that posture of trusting God for what's out of your hands. It ultimately puts your heart in the right place. we talked about humility. I mean, prayer is such a great way to keep ourselves humble and to know that ultimately it is out of our control and it's out of our hands. And it puts our heart in a posture of surrender and saying that, God, you've given me this desire, you've given me songwriting, you've given me the ability to pursue it, you've given me this day to do it. Whether or not it does anything, I just have to surrender that, like, commercially. It's so much of it's the right place, the right time for the right person. But prayer ultimately is going to put your heart in the right place all the time, rather than just being in the right place at the right time. So prayer is going to be the thing that puts your heart in the right place. And I want to encourage you guys, if you don't already do this, keep a prayer journal and reflect. Prayer journaling is one of the most powerful spiritual disciplines because, number one, it creates space for God. It creates space for your own mind to just go to go higher, above all of the weeds. Get yourself out of the weeds. Keeping a prayer journal is a great way to discipline yourself to do this. And what I love about prayer journaling is you can look back, and this is where I put reflect. You look back over 2 months later, a year later, and you see so many of the prayers that were answered, or you see so many of the prayers that were answered in a different way than you thought they should be answered. Man, I'm so thankful for the fact that we have a God that gives us what we need rather than what we want. He gives us what we need rather than what we want. As a dad to a 6 and a 9-year-old, like, if I gave them everything they wanted all the time, it would be a complete disaster. Their life would be a train wreck. They would be sick. They'd be in the hospital from eating candy all the time. Like, if we got everything that we wanted, it just would not go well for us. And most of us, our hearts probably wouldn't be ready if we did get an answer too soon. Sometimes, I was just talking to Matt Hammond about this yesterday, who's one of my favorite humans in the business, the great songwriter. We were just talking about timing and, like, going through years of what we would kind of call a desert season, and just the surrender of, like, maybe I was not ready to have it at that time. And so much of what prayer journaling for you is, it can just make it obvious. It can clarify your thinking and make it apparent of what prayers are being answered, how God is answering prayers, or how he is choosing to not answer certain prayers. And that reveals in and of itself something really important. And then the last thing I would say is, make it the first thing and the last thing that you do every day. Start your day with it, end your day with it. And ideally, have it fill in a whole lot of the space in between. There's a great classic book called Practicing the Presence of God, and I just think it's a constant thing that in our culture we're not good at. We have so many reasons to be distracted just by this little smartphone in our hands. Man, there's so many days I just want to chuck this thing out the window and never come back to it, just because there's always some news story that can pop up. There's always some reason to be stressed out. There's always some reason to feel negative. There's always also a reason to feel excited too. There's a lot of great stuff with that too. Like, friends constantly hitting us up. Social media, we're seeing, like, oh, this person just had a baby, and this person had this awesome thing happen. The point is like, there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad, but the real net bad is that it eliminates our ability to just sit in this prayerful space. And so that's where control what you can control. You can control the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning. Before you brush your teeth, before you get coffee, before you do anything, just pray. God, what do you want today to be? The song that I have in my mind that I'm going to write today. I have my ideas of what it could do and where it could go and where I want it to go, but ultimately it's yours. I thank you for the ability to even have the time and the space to be living in a time in human history where I have the ability to write songs for fun and pursue things I'm passionate about. Just starting your day with that perspective, or maybe even starting with, God, I don't have anything today. Like, what can you give me some inspiration? It just puts yourself in so much of a better place. And then ending the day with gratitude, saying, thank you, God. I posted a video about this in Song Chasers a couple days ago. of the 70 gratitudes practice, the 70 thank yous practice. I've been doing that every day on the way up to work this week, and it has it's made my week and my mind space, my attitude, my heart feels so much better. Going through 70 things that I'm thankful for. And that may seem like a lot, but we've all got them. It's not just material stuff too. It's thanking God for who he is, thanking for relationships, thanking for, things that just every little thing you can come up with that's a positive. It could be the cup of coffee you have in your hand. It could be the bed that you're laying on. It could be anything. So starting your day with it, ending your day with it, and having it fill in as much of the in-between space is really the answer here. And yes, Vicky, practicing the presence of God it's the Brother Lawrence little book. So easy read, short read, highly recommended. Tammy says, if I had tasted success as an early age, I might not be alive today to talk about it. I had to work on me first. That's so true. And I was very much in that same same place where, like, if I as soon as I started music, if I would have just started having stuff work, it wouldn't have been good for me. It wouldn't have been good for me as a person. Paul says, I thank God for this group. No one understands the struggle like you folks. I love that. So pray and then listen. Ultimately, this is where we just have to force ourselves into moments of silence, sometimes moments of, I'll say, boredom, where we just let our minds go. We let ourselves just sit and wait and listen and read God's word. That's half of the time where God will answer us is in that practice. These are such obvious things that, like, so many of us just need a reminder. And you might be like here thinking, okay, I thought we were talking about music publishing today. Like, you might have been expecting more like music business advice, but really these things are all that matters. This is really it. This is that, like, there's no secret hack. There's no magic book that you're going to read that's going to all of a sudden just make things work for you. There's no secret list that you can buy of people to pitch songs to. There's no, like, this is really all it is. It's work like it's up to you and pray like it's up to God. So I hope that resonates with some people today. Does that resonate with anybody out there? Man, this was awesome this morning. I hope this was helpful for some people. Go back and rewatch the replay. It'll be up shortly. So appreciate y'all. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Made It in Music podcast. And be sure to check out our other episodes where we unpack hundreds of hot topics with some of the top music industry pros, both here in Nashville and all over the world. Subscribe to make sure that you automatically get future episodes, and leave us a review if you loved it. It would really help us out. Or send an email to support@fullcirclemusic.com if you have ideas for how we can improve the show. If you would like to become a Songchasers member and attend our training sessions live, head over to joinsongchasers.com to learn more. You also get additional exclusive training from music industry professionals. You get our royalty-free custom tracks from Seth Mosley. You get song reviews from me and my team, and you get access to a custom social media network we created exclusively for songwriters and musicians. There's nothing else like it on the internet. Head to joinsongchasers.com to learn how to join, and check out madeitinmusic.com for more content and episodes from this podcast. See you in the next episode.